Can we actually end poverty? Or is it just a dream? Today, we're going to look at the real answer, and it might surprise you. Right now, over 1 billion people live on less than $2.15 a day. They don't know if they'll eat tomorrow. They can't afford to see a doctor. But here's something remarkable. In 1820, 90% of the world lived in extreme poverty. Today, it's under 10%. That is one of the most dramatic improvements in human history. So if we've made this much progress, why haven't we finished? What's stopping us? Is it money, willpower, or something else entirely? First, what do we mean by poverty? It's not just about money. Poverty means not having enough food, clean water, shelter, healthcare, education, or safety. There are also two types: absolute poverty, not having enough to survive, and relative poverty, having far less than everyone around you, which causes its own deep harm. And crucially, poverty isn't about laziness or bad choices. It is a structural condition. Systems create it, systems can end it. There is a vicious cycle called the poverty trap. You're poor, so you can't afford education. No education means low-paying work. Low pay keeps you poor. The cycle continues. But here's the hopeful part. Entire countries have escaped mass poverty within a single generation. South Korea, China, Vietnam, and others went from extreme poverty to middle-income status within decades. They invested massively in public goods, schools, roads, healthcare, agricultural support. The government didn't wait for charity. It built the infrastructure for growth. Technology has also played a huge role. Mobile phones gave billions of people access to banking, markets, and information for the first time. Mass vaccination programs have saved hundreds of millions of lives. When children survive childhood, families have fewer children. Smaller families can invest more in each child. That breaks the cycle. Every study confirms educating and empowering women is one of the single most powerful tools for reducing poverty. When women thrive, entire communities lift. But there are very real obstacles, and pretending they don't exist doesn't help anyone. Let's look at the biggest ones. Corruption is one of the biggest. Estimates suggest Africa loses over $88 billion per year to corruption. That is money that could build schools, hospitals, and roads. Poor countries often borrow money to develop, but interest payments can overwhelm their entire budget, leaving nothing for schools or hospitals. The debt becomes a trap. Climate change is making poverty harder to escape. Floods destroy crops, droughts empty wells. Extreme heat makes outdoor work impossible. The poorest countries, who contributed the least to emissions, suffer the most. War wipes out decades of progress in years. Conflict destroys infrastructure, displaces families, and collapses governments. The world's poorest places are often its most conflict-ridden. Rich countries subsidize their own farmers, then compete with poor farmers in global markets. That drives down prices, destroys livelihoods, and keeps poor nations dependent on imports. Let's talk about the myths that hold us back. Myth 1. Poverty is natural. Some people are just poor. That's how it's always been. This is wrong. Poverty is not a law of nature. It was created by choices, policies, history, power structures. And what humans created, humans can change. Myth 2. There just isn't enough food and money to end poverty. This is factually false. The world produces more than enough food to feed every single person. We waste a third of it. Myth 3. Foreign aid just creates dependency. The reality is more complicated. Bad aid creates dependency. Good aid, the kind that builds infrastructure and skills, creates independence. Myth 4. Poor countries are poor because of their own bad governments. But history shows colonialism, resource extraction, and rigged trade rules played a massive role in creating poverty that persists today. What actually works? Let's talk tools. Universal basic income, giving everyone a small guaranteed income, has been tested in Kenya, Finland, and the US. In every study, people spent it wisely. Crime fell, stress fell, work actually increased. Giving poor people, especially women, secure legal rights to land is one of the most powerful poverty-reducing tools known. You can invest in land you own. You cannot invest in land you might be evicted from. Microcredit, small loans given to poor entrepreneurs, especially women, has lifted millions out of poverty. A loan of $50 can start a business that feeds a family for years. Something as simple as providing free school meals dramatically increases attendance in poor communities. Hungry children can't learn. Fed children can. It's that simple. Access to clean water is not a luxury. It is the foundation of everything. Without it, children get sick. Women spend hours walking to collect it. Farms fail. Every dollar invested in water sanitation returns $5 in economic value. Direct cash transfers to poor families consistently outperform aid given in goods. People know what they need. When you trust them with cash, they spend it on food, school fees, and healthcare, not luxuries. Building roads to isolated communities unlocks trade, healthcare access, and education. Studies show connecting a village by road can increase incomes by up to 30% within 5 years. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Ending extreme poverty globally would cost roughly $300 billion per year. That sounds enormous, but the world spends over $2 trillion per year on military spending. The 10 richest people in the world hold more wealth than the bottom 3.1 billion people combined. Ending poverty is not a resource problem. It's a political and moral problem. The reason poverty persists is not that we lack solutions. It's that those who benefit from the current system have enormous power to block solutions. They lobby, donate to politicians, and shape narratives. Democracies, on average, reduce poverty faster than authoritarian systems. When people can vote out leaders who fail them, leaders have an incentive to deliver results. What would a poverty-free world actually look like? Every child goes to school. Every person can see a doctor. Every family has enough food. No one dies from a preventable disease or a missed meal. A poverty-free world is also richer for everyone. When 1 billion people escape poverty, they become consumers, inventors, and contributors. Wealth doesn't leave a rich world. It expands from a bigger one. Extreme poverty is a driver of conflict, instability, and displacement. Reduce poverty, and you reduce the conditions that breed war. A more equal world is a more peaceful world. Wealthy, educated populations also pollute less per person and have fewer children. Ending poverty doesn't threaten the planet. It helps stabilize it. Population growth slows when people feel secure. This doesn't require a perfect world. It doesn't require solving every problem. Just a world where no one falls below the floor of basic dignity. That floor is achievable with current knowledge and resources. We are the first generation in human history with the technology, the resources, and the knowledge to end extreme poverty entirely. That is an extraordinary moment. So, is a poverty-free world possible? Yes. The evidence says yes. The tools exist. The resources exist. The only thing missing is sustained collective will. Vote for leaders who prioritize this. Support organizations that work on policy, not just symptoms. Talk about structural causes, not just individual charity. Know the difference between aid and justice.
And remember, wanting a poverty-free world is not about charity or pity. It is about justice. Every person deserves basic security, not because someone chose to give it to them, but because they are human.